They're lurking, observing, and clicking. Their energy consistently reveals them, even if they believe they are concealed behind phony accounts and muted viewpoints. They return too soon, stay too long, and refresh too often. They return in a matter of seconds after you share an idea or a peek of your world. They don't only observe, they research you, keeping tabs on your victories, looking for vulnerabilities, and repeating what you say in an effort to identify any openings for them to enter. They are unaware, however, that their passion has already decided their doom. Thus, they are unable to quit. They must see how you continue to rise, how you continue to move, and how nothing they have done has been able to derail you. They are weakened by the failure of every effort to manipulate your energy and draw you into their pandemonium. They thus wait for the next post to provide them with an explanation, wanting to catch you in the act, trying to discover something, anything, that would explain why you are untouchable, while they continue to descend into their own devastation. They don't realize that it's more than simply what you write. It's also about the power in your presence, the quiet between your words, and what you don't say. They turn the page again, searching for a clue, a gap, a chance to enter your world, but you never provide them with one. Their preoccupation is a one-sided conflict that they started and designed, a task that they set for themselves. And the barriers become closer to them the more they attempt to enter your reality. There are ghost trails of their desperation left by their digital fingerprints everywhere. They are just exposing themselves. Even if they believe they are gathering information about you, you've seen it. How they change when you do. How their words begin to seem like reflections of your own. How they modify their tone, their manner, and their whole being in an attempt to mirror you. You notice, even if they don't believe you do. They observe, imitate, and attempt to fit into your image because they believe that by mimicking your rhythm, they will discover what makes you unique. They're not correct. They can't wear your essence as a costume. They can't figure out the formula for your energy. Even if they repeat what you say, they will never get the significance of it. Although they can mimic your motions, they will never experience the energy that propels them. They may make an effort to become you, but each time they do so, they just seem to be a hollow shell. They believed it would be simple, just reflect, replicate, and mirror. However, they were unaware of the price. Because they are losing themselves while they spend all of their time observing you, adapting to you, and robbing you, you continue to change, rise, and develop into something they will never be able to match. They are caught in a never-ending cycle, playing a game they made up and pursuing an identity they will never claim. They will never be more than your shadow, since you are a unique spirit and not merely someone to be imitated. You observe the patterns, how they seem to be present at all times, and how their appearance seems less random and more like a script they have been practicing. They're not as subtle as they believe. Each unintentional encounter is too convenient. Every chance meeting is too planned. They appear in areas they knew you existed, but had never given any thought to previously. Additionally, their speech is prepared and deliberate. Their statements are not natural. Rather, they are meticulously crafted lines in a screenplay that are meant to fit into your reality. However, you can sense the forced familiarity in their tone, the desperation in their energy, and the artificial weight behind their exchanges. They believe they are entangling you in a web, yet they are the only ones who are entangled. Since their addiction is obvious, and others are beginning to notice, you don't need to confront them or expose them. They first rejected it, but eventually, it was hard to ignore the patterns. Why do they bring you up every time? Why do they continuously follow you with their eyes? When you walk into the room, why does their vibe change? They are unable to assist themselves. Everyone is really watching them, even if they believed they were the ones observing you. Their karmic tendencies, which are plain, predictable, and draining, are clearly seen. Their attempt to dominate the story has ultimately led to their demise. What's the worst? You don't even give them credit. They may be undone by your very presence. Their whole universe revolved around your words, your presence, and your actions. They are now left standing in their own self-made turmoil as their fixation seeps through the gaps. They are exposed by everything they do. Everything they do validates what you've always understood. They have already come clean, so you don't need to say anything. They believe they are in charge. Convinced that they would succeed this time, they plan, plot, and prepare for their next move. Then, everything breaks down. The gathering they had scheduled, canceled. The gathering where they unintentionally wanted to meet you, postponed. The SMS message that they were going to send never completes. They are unable to comprehend it. Something always goes wrong, regardless of how meticulously they arrange their traps. Despite their early departure, they nonetheless arrive late. The signal drops when they call. The page won't load, even after they push refresh. It's frustrating. You're too preoccupied with living, prospering, and going about your own pace to notice. They centered their whole lives on you, yet they never played a part in your ambitions. They are now coming to the horrifying realization that they are unable to get to you, not in a physical, digital, or spiritual sense. They were never supposed to touch you, therefore, something constantly prevents them. Every thread they attempt to weave into your reality is severed by divine intervention, which stands between you and their goals. They will never understand how you are protected. They attempt to advance, but are pushed back by an unseen force. They attempt to encroach on your personal space, but life itself blocks their path. They sense it, and it drives them crazy, even if they can't see the hands at work or the invisible forces altering reality to keep them at a distance. They formerly thought they had the capacity to control, manage, and sway events to suit their wishes. But now, they are unable to do so. They get back whatever they throw at you. In their hands, every strategy falls apart. Every effort to become involved fails. Since they never existed in your universe, you keep acting as if they don't even exist. Let us now pause for a minute to celebrate those who have been selected. Cheers to the people who have a different perspective on the world, the quiet protectors, the watching spirits who are always awake and alert. They wouldn't have it any other way, and they don't fit the mold. They create their own pathways, waging invisible wars and shedding light on the dark places while others follow well-known ones. It's okay if it's not for everyone, but you'll know something is for you if you sense it in your soul. Just the truth, no disguises or pretension. The Obsidian Inner Order is here, a community of like-minded individuals who come together to exchange knowledge, bond, and change. More than 450 members who are bound together by purpose, rather than conformity. The URL is in the description, so you know where to find us if you're ready. If not, that's okay too, since we're constantly here, keeping an eye on things and changing things in ways that aren't visible. Cheers to those that follow their own path because it is who they are, not for attention. Cheers to you, thank you. They believe they could pull strings, influence energies, break into your world and seize power because they believe they were the hunters. But now, look at them imprisoned by their own fixation, not by you or anything you've done. They lose a part of themselves each time they pursue you. Their karmic record is further indebted with each effort to enter your space, further tying them to a destiny from which they are no longer able to break free. They began with assurance, thinking they had the advantage, that you wouldn't anticipate them, and that they could entice and hold you in their turmoil. However, they were unaware that you don't participate in their games. You haven't. You are subject to forces that are beyond of their control in a separate world. The weight of their own despair pulls them down each time they take a step closer. They are the ones who are bowing, even if they believe they could do so. They are the ones collapsing, but they believed they could shatter you. What's the worst? They are unable to halt. They will continue to pursue you regardless of how many times they fail, how many times their ideas backfire, or how many times they embarrass themselves in an attempt to get into your life. Since they don't have any other identities at this time, the only thing keeping them going now is you, who is meant to be the target. They are monitoring you, mimicking you, worrying over you, and attempting to prevent you from rising to the top of their universe. However, every action they do only serves to hasten their demise. You can see their desperation now. It's evident in their eyes, their agitated demeanor, and the way they mention your name without anybody asking. They are unable to concentrate, sleep, or breathe without thinking about your whereabouts, activities, and future plans. They were the ones attempting to manipulate you. Now, their own fear, jealousy, and never-ending cycle of failure are controlling them. What began as a game has turned into a prison, one that they created for themselves rather than one that you established for them. They've tried everything. Like a predator certain it could corner its victim, they followed your every step, hid behind false aliases, and watched you from the shadows. They believed that if they looked closely enough and studied you for a long enough period of time, they would discover the vulnerability, the defect, or the pressure point that would ultimately break you. You never cracked, however. You never bowed. You didn't even acknowledge them. And they are going crazy now. They put all of their effort into manipulating you, pulling strings behind the scenes, and planning setbacks that were meant to cause you to break. However, their delusion of power was the only thing that fell apart. You continued to rise despite their hacking, stalking, and manipulation. And something within them shattered a little more with each ascent and level you attained. Because it was now obvious that they had spent their time, energy, and personal destiny in an attempt to shatter someone who couldn't be broken. And it's an inexplicable revelation, because your path stayed unaltered while they spent their days obsessed with you. Every time someone tried to slow you down, you only became faster. Every scheme they devised to harm you fell apart in their own hands. Their obsession with your demise only served to accelerate your rise. They now experience the empty anguish of knowing they sacrificed their strength and poured their life energy into a fight they were never able to win, as well as the sinking, suffocating weight in their chest. You never had to fight back, so you didn't even. They are the only ones who are hurting today, because their preoccupation was always a fight against themselves. They believed they were the ones observing, following, and analyzing every action you took. Much like a scientist analyzing an abnormality, they sought to comprehend you, exert control over you, and turn you into a predictably manipulable object. However, you never played the game, which is something they didn't anticipate. You didn't pursue them, confront them, or encourage their fixation. Unaffected by their frantic efforts to maintain your circle, you rose and proceeded in quiet. And without a single action, you accomplished what they dreaded most. You exposed them, not by conflict or revenge, but just by being yourself. Everything began to fall apart, including their meticulously constructed egos, the false identities they wore, like armor, and the falsehoods they spoke to maintain their authority. People began to take notice. It was faint at first, a quiet awareness slipping into conversations, side looks, and lifted eyebrows. The issue then arose. Why do they bring you up so frequently? They seem to know everything about you. But why? Why do they watch all the time? Once concealed in the shadows, their fixation is now clearly visible. They are being observed because they wanted to keep you under observation. Now, everyone is examining every rumor, every phony conversation, and every effort to monitor you. The fractures, the desperation, and the disturbing obsession they have with you are now visible to the same people who formerly accepted them without question. They are losing control because they believed they were in charge and had authority over you. It gets more apparent the more they attempt to conceal it. Their meticulously constructed masks are coming off. Their stories are unraveling. The truth has a way of showing itself, so you don't even need to do anything. And now everyone is able to glimpse their true identities. They attempted to obstruct, postpone, disrupt, and intercept what was never intended for them. They created illusions, pulled threads, and whispered in your ears to persuade themselves that they could steal what was rightfully yours. However, it is not how inheritance works. When something is already yours, you don't pursue it. And now everything they attempted to take, cash, influence, fame, and supernatural possibilities that were predetermined for you before they ever knew your name, is going back to its rightful owner. Now, the doors they attempted to block in your face are opening by themselves. They are now losing the riches they accumulated in an attempt to keep you under them. By stomping on your name, they established an impact that is now eroding. They believed that destiny could be changed. They believed that they could keep what was never theirs. However, all they accomplished was hastening their own demise, because they disregarded their own path while they were consumed with chasing shadows, obsessed about you, and exhausting themselves in an attempt to stop your ascension. They are now empty-handed as they watch you take advantage of all they attempted to deny you and effortlessly, gracefully, and with the type of heavenly favor that they could never fake, get what was always intended for you. They now realize that they were never supposed to defeat you because your money is spiritual, energizing, and generational, a power far beyond their comprehension. For what purpose did they spend their time pursuing, plotting, and controlling? To be left with nothing while you stroll right into your birthright without ever having to use force, exert effort, or lower yourself to their level. Take a look at them, exhausted, unsteady, and disintegrating. They believed they had time, that they could play their little games indefinitely, that they could pull strings, hide behind illusions, and observe from the shadows. However, they never had time on their side. It's catching up to them after they spent it pursuing you. They are being consumed from inside by the same energy that they used to stalk, scheme, and meddle. Their brains are racing, restless and desperate, trying to figure out how to halt what they know is about to happen. But because their worst fear has already materialized, your triumph is unavoidable. There is no stopping it. They seem worn out, yet you appear light. You walk easily as others sink into paranoia. As they struggle for dominance, you remain unfazed. They have no idea how you manage to stay unharmed by all they have hurled at you, how you keep getting up while they crumble under their own weight. The fact is straightforward, though. You never had to battle them. It was never necessary for you to become like them. Since their own preoccupation was always a part of their demise, you never had to reciprocate the energy they threw your way. It's too late for them now. Every time they tried to slow you down, it simply made them feel worse. They were more imprisoned by each trap they created. They lost out on their own potential every instant they were preoccupied with you. They are now left with nothing, no authority, no control, and no means of reversing the damage they caused. You continue to rise in the meantime, not because you made an effort to win, but because losing was never your destiny. They believed they could stalk, meddle, and manipulate without repercussions because they were untouchable. You believed that their passion would bring you to ruin, but it brought them down instead. Since karma never forgets, it is now moving quickly and recovering all of the energy they directed against you. The paranoia that they attempted to instill in you, they are now being eaten alive by their own thoughts. The obstacles they put in your way, their own lives are now disintegrating. The weight of their own deeds is causing them to collapse, so you don't need to do anything. Their schemes failed, their power dissolved. The influence they used to have on others, lost. While they flee into the darkness and drown in the mayhem they caused, you stay unharmed. Clear, unhindered, and unfettered. You go onward. They did this to themselves. It was never your struggle. They made an effort to control something that was never intended to be controlled. They studied you, imitated you, and became fixated on you because they believed that by paying careful attention, they might extract your essence, change their destiny, and take possession of something that was never theirs. Energy, however, does not yield to despair. Imitation does not yield to power. They could never comprehend you. You weren't supposed to be there for them. They never realized they were contributing to their own downfall because they mistakenly believed that their access to you equated to ownership and that their obsession was a tactic. Their vitality is already waning. Their impact diminishes. Their existence vanishes into nothing. They sought to dominate you, but you ended up becoming their downfall, without exertion, without reprisal, without deviating from your own course. They lost their illusions because of you. You showed their desperation just by being there. And you rise as others fall apart, enmeshed in the mess of their own making. Let them observe. Allow them to whisper. Allow them to get overwhelmed by their own fixation. The reckoning is your presence alone. In what ways have you seen others attempting to monitor, mimic, or control your energy? Tell us about your experience in the space provided. Let's have a conversation.